Hi, you guys. Welcome to Hoops and Hurdles. This is your girl, Teresa Mack, and glad that you are here joining me. I know that it has been a minute since I have done a podcast. So today, while I had some downtime, I was like, well, let me do an episode on my podcast since I have some downtime. So yeah, I'm coming today to give y'all an episode. And the episode today will be talking about how did I cope with the loss of a mother. Um, but I hope everyone is doing fine. What I've been doing, well, honestly, I've been doing school. I've been doing school, but mostly, you guys, I've been sitting at God's feet. I've been asking God, okay, Lord, I'm surrendering. What do you want me to do? Like, just really obeying and listening to God a little more in this season. Um, I have been kind of isolated, but I have been going to like functions. I went to a function actually last weekend with one of my friend girls. It was really a brunch that turned into a service. And the guest speaker was Pastor Candy West. And if you don't know Pastor Candy West, she's from Huntsville, Alabama. And this is her book. I don't know if you can see it or not. Yeah. And this is her. This is Miss Pastor Candy West. And when I say phenomenal service, her service was phenomenal. And I ended up following her because I'm like, because she gave me so many confirmations in um her ministry or her sermon. She gave me so many confirmations. She's so powerful. And so I ended up following her on IG and following her on YouTube because the things that she was preaching about is kind of what I've been laying at God's feet about and what He has been showing me. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, laying at God's feet, listening to Him. I have not really been too big on social media like I used to because I'm just like I used to be just like y'all, TikTok, always scrolling, posting. I did get on Facebook like a couple weeks ago because I had been off for like a whole month. So I did get on Facebook like a couple weeks ago and posted some pictures to let everybody know, hey, I'm doing fine. The spirit fingers, I'm okay. And then a lot of people was like, you look so refreshed and just rejuvenated. And like I told them, some people are like, oh, she must got a man. Yeah, I have a man. His name is Jesus. And like I told them, it's just being in God's presence is where I am right now. I have been on IG. I have been posting like pictures, some of them old pictures. I have been. If you don't follow me on IG, follow me on IG because I have a lot of the Pay Sisters books on there. They are good reads. If you're a good reader like me, that's another thing I've been doing. I've been reading a lot. Also, Ty A. Patterson. I have been reading her book as well. Go follow her page, Phenomenal Gifts, or the real Ty Patterson. So yeah, you guys, that's all I've been doing. Just being obedient, staying at God's feet, staying in isolation, getting more into my word, getting closer to God, getting a better relationship with God. It's not that I didn't have a relationship with God. I'm sorry, y'all. It's not that I didn't have a relationship with God. It's just I wasn't as close to Him like I should be. And in this season, I want to be so close to God that because He's bright. You can see my light. I want to be that close. I'm not interested in what man doing. I know a lot of people, still on social media, and they scroll. I'm not interested in what other people are doing. I am interested in growing with God, getting closer to God, connecting with people who are doing the same, and also just basically not attaching myself, but getting closer to people who want the same goals as me. And yeah, that's what I've been doing. And as I was going through this, I noticed, Mother's Day came. A lot of people and everybody who reached out to me for Mother's Day, thank you. I love you. I was fine. I was fine. I was home. I was relaxing. I was chilling. I didn't have a sad day. And I thank you guys for that. And I'm guessing that's part of the accepting process and also therapy. So thank you, Dr. Sharon. But for everybody who reached out to me, I just want to say thank you. And I love you. And thank you for thinking about me for Mother's Day, because you know that day for me has always been hard. But I was fine. But again, I'm appreciative and I thank you for that. But yeah, Mother's Day passed. And I see, I'm not the only one who lost mothers. We even have celebrities, who have lost a loved one, and a mother or a parent. But I have, and that's another thing, you guys, I have gotten to the point now. I know man-made titles such as celebrities and legends and icons, man-made titles. But to me, you are human. I see you. I get you. I understand. I may not have a big platform, or I may not be, in a clique with all these folks. I don't want to be in no clique with all these folks. I want to be the person who be in the background somewhere doing the work that God has called me to do. Because you can't call yourself a kingdom kid or a child of God and you're not doing his work. And I don't have to make it public what I'm doing. I'm just listening to him and what he's telling me to do, and I'm doing that. But I don't see man-made titles when I see people hurting, grieving, or going through something. Even have been bloggers who around here bashing people, why they are in their grieving process. I pray for you, because you don't know what people are experiencing. Just because everything is not posted on social media, you don't really know these personal lives. And everybody don't post their business on social media. Some people just post what they want you to see. And half of the time when people be posting anyway, they be lying. So stop bashing people or, these celebrities and icons and stuff. And y'all really don't know what these folks are battling within themselves or what they're going through. But yeah, that's so when all of that came about, I was like, I have never did a podcast about how did I cope with losing my mother. So I was like, that'll be a good one. So today, that's what I'm talking to you about. So I had an amazing mother. Oh, I had an amazing mother. If I get emotional, they're just part of my process, but I'm not sad, okay? But I had an amazing mother. When I say she was a single parent of two, I do have an oldest brother. We 10 years apart. And not only am I my mother's baby, I was the baby of the family from 1984 to like 1990. So I did grow up in a close-knit family. I had a great grandmother. Actually, I had two. Is Grandma Net? Was she? No, Grandma Net was grandmama. So I did have a great grandmother, and I did Grandma Net was a great grandmother. So I did grow up with two great grandmothers. Two great grandmothers. I had a grandmother, and when my great grandmother passed, she was in her 80s. When my grandmother passed, she was in like her early 60s. But I grew up in an era, with a lot of wisdom, knowledge, And my mother was the oldest out of all her siblings. I love that woman. But she was the oldest out of all her siblings. And she was born 1954, March 4th, 1954. And my mom, first of all, she believed in Jesus. She did believe in whoopings because I had my share. Now, I wasn't a bad child, you guys. Now, don't be like, I was not a bad child. I was just, sassy. The mouth had the mouth. Attitude. But it was part of, I was the baby. And you guys, I'm not going to lie, I was spoiled. Because what my mama didn't do, my grandmother did. So, and then what my grandmother didn't do, some of my aunties did. Or what my auntie didn't do, my uncles and them did. So I was spoiled. But my mother was amazing. She was a single parent of two. We are from Raymond, Mississippi. It's a small town in Mississippi. Everybody know everybody. You family, you family somewhere. You connected somewhere in the family origin. But it was nice and peaceful, you know. As we stayed in like a 2-bedroom apartment, and we really had a village, you guys. Like, we don't have that anymore. But as I was growing up, we really had a village. If you got in trouble, you better believe somebody was gonna get on you in their neighborhood, and your your parents was gonna know. So sometimes it's like you got in trouble twice. But I loved it that village that we had, because you knew you can go outside where nothing was gonna happen to your child, or you felt safe and all this good stuff. But as we got older, I think we ended up. My mama, she graduated college. My mama was the first one to go to the military, so she was Army bound. She left the service. She went to college. She was the first one in the family to go through service and graduate college. And her thing, my mother was big on technology, and that's why I was like, now that I'm looking at how things are flowing, now I was like, dang, I was like, my mama had wisdom. Like the Lord was showing her something, because she was so big when it came to technology and computers, and she always tried to teach us how to type. But like, I wasn't into that. Like, I was a cheerleader. I was the flag girl. I was the let me go outside girl. Like, I was heavy set, but I was very active. I was like the gymnast. Like, let me go outside and do a couple cartwheels. Like, I don't want to learn technology. And but like I said, she went to school for computer technology and business and stuff like that. My mom was very business oriented and minded or whatever. And she was a Pisces. And she was so sweet. My mother was so sweet. Loved to help free. So if somebody was to ask me, what did I give my mother? Business, education, free-hearted. Because my mother was so free-hearted. If she can help you, she will. But you're not going to take advantage of her. But she loved helping people. And that's how I am now. But yeah, I think 1995, we ended up leaving Raymond and moving to Jackson, because my mother didn't know how to drive. Because in Raymond, you really didn't need a car, because we walked everywhere. Town was up the street, the doctor's office was up the street, the pharmacy was up the street, and then back then, you had people that would take you to the store, because, my mama, when she wanted to make a lot of groceries, instead of going to the town, she'd go to Sack and Save, and they'll bring her back. But yeah, my mama didn't know how to drive, but in 1995, she was offered a job in the city of Mississippi called Jackson, Mississippi. So we ended up had to relocate. And I was so mad, you guys, because I was like, man, wait, what? And I was like, I'm a cheerleader. I'm active. I'm about to be a captain. And we finna go what? We finna do what? Again, spoil. So my mom was like, well, we're just going to be there for a year. We'll come back or whatever. Just let me get this year in this job position, and then we'll come back. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So, of course, we get to Jackson. I did not make any friends, like, right off. I stayed in the house. I just was to myself. But that year turned into forever. My mother took sick, and I think my mother knew she was sick, but she didn't tell us, because she knew how we would, especially me, how we would react. So her thing was, I'm gonna keep this on the low. I'm gonna get surgery, because my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer, and she kind of like kept it away from us. And I remember I went to school. I think I was at Provine. No, I was at Hardy. I think I was at Hardy Middle School in Jackson, Mississippi. And I remember coming home, and I was like, because I always go to my mother's room when I get off, to kind of tell her how my day was, to give her a hug and all this, etc. what a child does. And she wasn't there. So I noticed my brother then was there, but she wasn't there. And I was like, today's an off day. Like, where's she at? So I was like, so what mama? And they didn't want to say anything, but me being whom I am, I'm going to her room being nosy. And I looked at her calendar and noticed on her calendar she had wrote, I think it was like surgery or something she had wrote. I was like, surgery? So, of course, I'm interrogating. I was like, well, I said, so mama had surgery? What's going on with mama? And still nobody never said nothing. So finally my mother came out, and she finally told us what was going on. And she was like, well, yeah, I had the surgery. And they stated that they got all the cancer, so I should be fine. And I was like, cancer? And I was like, oh, okay. Went on about our life. But I noticed my mother kept going back in but I think at the time it's CMMC now. It may not changed again, but Marriott, I think that's what it is now. But back then it was Methodist. But Methodist Hospital, I noticed she kept going back. And I was like, what's going on? And after a while, y'all, it's like my mother's health just started deteriorating. Like my mother, it went so fast. And by this time now, she made it to my 8th grade graduation. And that was amazing. Oh my God. And now I'm in high school, 9th grade. And just think about you starting your first year of high school. You already nervous because it's all these kids. And remind you guys, I am shy. I am very shy. It takes a minute for me to warm up to you. I would talk, but it takes a minute for me to warm up to you. And it's not at the time that I had trust issues, it's just that I'm a shy person. And so just think about you just starting your year of high school. And you start high school, it's pressure. Because you seeing how all these kids dressing, and you coming from a small country town, Raymond, and now you in the city, and you see how these kids dressing. So now it's kind of like pressure, and then it's kind of like, oh wow. Then I was heavy set, so it was kind of like, oh okay. And when I was in middle school, I think it was Harding, because it wasn't Blackburn, it was Harding. I remember I was being picked on, I was being bullied. But the difference between me, I'm going to fight. So I had got bullied for how I was looking and my weight when I was in 8th grade. And so my mother ended up kind of like trying to change my style and get my hair and nails done. It's kind of like after that, the bullying kind of subsided or whatever. But when you get in high school, it was like, okay, I think I may have to step it up. But at this time, I wasn't even thinking about how I was looking, you guys. And the people who was in my class was kind of cool because we all had came from, middle school, together. So, and yeah, so it was like I'm just starting high school. And just think about you 13 years old and I'm 13, 14 years old. And I don't think you can think about, is my mother going to be at home when I get home? Because you done seen her health deteriorate so fast. And yes, I had an older brother. He did what he could, but he was married with his own kids. So he was kind of doing his own thing. So just think about, and my grandmother, she didn't know how to drive neither. So she walked everywhere. So sometimes she will walk to our house to kind of, assist my mother around the house and cook and stuff. Because you guys, I was not a cooker. Again, I was the baby, not only of my mother's, but the family. By this time, I think my little cousin was born, Andre. I think that all of them was here. But again, before they came, I was the baby of the family and my mother's baby. Who was cooking? Not me. But yeah, so when I was home, I tried to do what I could, but I knew my fried food was not good for my mother. But that's kind of like I knew how to do fried food and breakfast food and microwave food. But she would do like beets. My mother was a big veggie person, like beets and asparagus and stuff like that. And she'll eat that. But my grandmother started coming around, coming to the house and helping and cooking and all this good stuff. But just imagine you are 9th grade and you only 13, 14 years old and you're trying to concentrate on school, but you're mostly like but you're thinking, is my mother going to be at home when I get home? Because lately when I become home, she's not there. But I still had to go on, you guys. Like, even when my mother would go to be at the hospital, I would be home by myself because that's my mother trained me a long time ago how to be at home by myself. Don't open the door for nobody if you don't know them. You know, if you feel scared, call somebody. She trained me a long time ago. So I wasn't worried about being at home by myself. But it was like, dang, I'm tired of coming home. My mother is not here. So I still got up. I still went to school. I still did the things that she wanted me to do. So as time progressing, I'm still seeing my mother health deteriorating. So by this time, the doctors got to the point they was like, no, I never forget this. Put a pin at the other one. I never forget this. It was one Saturday morning, Saturday or Sunday, but I know it was a weekend. And I woke up and I asked my mother what she wanted for breakfast. And she said, well, just give me an orange. And I said, that's it? And she said, yeah, I just want an orange. So I went in the kitchen, I got her orange, I opened her blinds because she had some good sunlight in her room. So I opened her blinds and we were just sitting on her bed, just talking. And my mother was so beautiful, even in her, But we were sitting on her bed talking, and she said, she was just talking about the process, what she's going through, basically trying to prepare me. And before that, girl, y'all, my mama had me on the bus. I think it was J-Train back then. She had me on the bus. I was going to like Gina Jungle, getting money orders, helping her, trying to, giving her the money order so she could sign it off, and paying bills, helping her pay bills, sending the bill stuff off. And y'all, I was only 13, 12, 13, going into 14, and I knew how to change colostomy bags, and I knew when she had chemo because she had a little pink cup. She was spit up, and if you ever been around somebody who have had chemo treatment, and when they regurgitate or whatever, the smell of it ain't nothing but chemicals. But yeah, I seen it all and did it all. But yeah, we was sitting there, we was talking, and she said, Teresa, what's happening? It's supposed to happen this way. And I was like, but mama, and she was like, I'm supposed to go first. And I said, mama, sometime I wish it was me. I said, so you can stay here with Rodriguez. And she said, no. And Rodriguez is my oldest brother. I said, well, sometime I wish it was me so you could stay here with Rodriguez so he can have somebody. And she said, no. She said, I'm supposed to go first. The parents supposed to go first. She said, and I want it this way. She said, because I don't think I will be able to handle losing a child. She said, so I would rather for it to go like it's going, me go first and y'all stay here with each other. So I didn't even cry, y'all. Like I guess I was just still trying to absorb what was happening and what she was saying. But as time was passing, we had to end up moving out of our apartment. We ended up staying with my brother for a while, but then she ended up moving with my grandmother, and I ended up staying with my brother and his wife and child. And when she was staying with my grandmother, she was getting her strength back because my grandma believed in cooking. Grandma Clancy believed in cooking. Like, you gonna get 3 meals: breakfast, lunch, and supper. You going and a snack somewhere. My grandmother believed in cooking. So it's like my mother's health was kind of coming back around. But one day she was trying to go handle some business, and the home health nurse was like, I can't let you go. And we didn't understand, like, what are you saying? She trying to go handle business. Why she can't go anywhere? So my mother started crying and was like, if I don't handle this business, my children not gonna, etc. So my grandmother pulled the home health nurse to the side and was like, what's going on? And she said that she was taking my mother's pulse, and she could not find my mother's pulse. Like, it had fainted. So she was like, we're expecting her to transition any day now, if not in a couple hours, because she no longer have a pulse. Now, at 14 years old and you hearing this, I will never forget when we was in Methodist Hospital. It was me, my brother, my two aunties, and my uncle. He had came in and his son. And the doctors came in, and I'll never forget the words they told my mother when they told her that it's nothing else they can do. They done did all they can do. And I think at this time I was like 12 or 13. They was like, it's nothing else we can do. We will have to put you in hospice and you have like 6 months to live. Just think about your mother is your only parent. And somebody coming in to say you have 6 months to live, there's nothing we can do. We're going to have to put you in hospice. And when my mother went to hospice, they tried to kill her. Yes, they tried to kill my mother in hospice. And someone, thank you, Lord, for your angels, pulled my auntie to the side and was like, hey, you need to get your sister out of here. If you don't get your sister out of here, they're going to kill her. My mother had been overdosed. She had slept from like that Tuesday all the way to that Thursday night. And thank you, God, for putting that lady there. But she told my auntie, hey, if you don't get your sister out of here, they're going to kill her. She's going to die faster than 6 months. So, of course, how my family is, it's kind of like, okay, let's go, So we pulled her up out of there, but that's how, she ended up with my grandmother, whatever. But anyway, it's kind of like she was coming around and everything. But after that did turn around just to hear this nurse saying, I can't find a pulse. She may die in a couple hours, or a couple days. It's kind of like, wait, what? And my mother was church bound. Literally, like you ain't wearing no pants to church. Like the slip, the stockings, the skirt, the dress. My mother was church. She believed in Jesus. She did not play. And I thank God for that. But my mother never pushed baptism. I always used to remember to seeing the communion tray go around. And I used to always want it because I'm like, that's juice and crackers. So I'm trying to get it, but she never let me get it. And I was like, well, why y'all eating? I can't eat. I wasn't baptized, I guess. But it was this older lady that lived under us in Raymond. Oh, I love her. Her name was Miss Percy May. When I say heaven sent, Miss Percy May was kind of like grandma to me, And I never forget she was outside. I'd be outside playing because I was outside playing. I was an outside kid. And I'll be outside playing, Miss Percy May, she'll come outside. And of course, I'm going to go hug Miss Percy May. And she would always say, so when you going to get baptized? When you going? And I'm like, where we go? Why every time you see me, we talk about baptism. But lo and behold, the Lord shifted me. I think I was like 10 or 11 and I got baptized. It shocked my mama because my mother never talked about or pushed me to get baptized. But I did. And I was happy that my mother was here to witness that. And I thank God for Miss Percy May for that. And honestly, y'all, when I look at my journey, God knew what he was doing. God knew what was about to happen. Even when I was in my mother's womb and my daddy did not want me. My daddy wanted my mother to have an abortion with me, but my mother did not. He knew what I was about to face. And he knew that I was going to need that covering. Not only my mother's prayer, he knew I was going to need him more than anything. And so, fast forward, I was at my brother's house. And I don't know, it was like that particular night, I couldn't sleep. And usually when I go in my room, go to sleep, I'm going to sleep. But that particular night, I could not sleep at all. And I heard the phone ring. Y'all, I was already up getting dressed. My brother busted in my room and he looked. And he was like, yeah. I said, was that about mama? And he said, yeah. He said, let's go. Let's roll. Y'all, we was out. Do you hear me? Rolling. So we get to my grandmother's house. I'm already 14 years old. I'm already trying to prepare myself mentally what I'm about to walk into. Because the only death I ever seen was my great grandmother when she had a stroke and she passed away. I think it was like 95, 96, maybe 96. But you know, my grandma was almost 90. So we kind of expected with her, but this is my mother. Like she's only 40, 40, 43, 42, 43. But we get there, I'm preparing myself, and we walked in her room. And it's like that my mother, her color had changed. Like my mother was my complexion. And I maybe I look lighter than my mother, I don't know. But she had turned dark. Her eyes had rolled in the back of her head. She was making this sound. I don't know if y'all ever seen that movie, The Grudge. How when that thing is coming and it had that sound, that's the sound she was making. That's the sound my mother was making. And my mother was never kind of a lavish person. And so she always gave us the big TVs or everything big. And she always kept the small stuff. So her little 13-inch TV was on. And Con Air was on the TV because I remember watching it. So my grandma said before we came, she was talking because my auntie was there prior to, because she was telling my auntie, you know, if something happens to me, I want you to have all my clothes. Because, baby, if y'all know Rosemary, my mama, when she stepped out. And that's where I get my fashion sense from. My mama, I'm not finna step out halfway, baby. If I'm coming, I'm coming. So she told my auntie, if something happened to me, I want you to have my clothes. You know, get all my clothes and purses and etc. And she told my grandmother to get what you can. Because my grandma class was very small and petite, baby. My grandma was like a size maybe 4, 6 shoe. If you know grandma class is Lee Mack, baby, my grandma class was bad. But my grandma was like, I want the purses, you know. So she told my grandma to get what you want. And she said my mother was talking prior to that. And then she was like, my auntie was like, I'm finna get ready to go. And my mom was like, I don't want you to leave me right now. She was like, well, let Rose, she's not gonna handle it. Cause she's like, my mother name is Rosie May, but she changed it to Rosemary. Y'all didn't know that, but you know now. So she said, Rosie, I'm about to go handle some, and then I'll be right back. And my grandma said, like right after that, my mama kind of transitioned into when we walked in that state or whatever. So we stayed as long as we could. And so me and my brother left, went back home. And I didn't even go to school the next day because he didn't want me to go to school the next day because we didn't know what was about to happen. So we ended up going back to my grandmother's house. My mother was still head straight up, eyes rolled back, still making that sound. And y'all, I can remember everything, like who was there and the noise. It was just, I could still hear that. And my grandma was like, Teresa, go in there and talk to your mother. Everybody done went in there and said something to her but you. And she was like, and your mother is not going to let go until you go and let her know you're going to be okay. And I'm like, she can't hear me, you know. My grandma said the last thing to go on a person is their hearing. She can hear you. So I get up and I go in there. And I never forget, I had my auntie over here. She would eat some KFC chicken. And Con Air was still on the TV for some odd reason. And it was my mother's bed. She was there, and it was a chair by her. So I went and sat in the chair. And my mother's head was still in the upright position. Eyes still rolled back. She's still making this noise. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just going to talk. So I told my mother that, you know, like, you did a good job with me. I know you fighting to be here for us, but it's time for you to take your rest. Remind you, I'm 14. I told her I was going to be all right, that the family was going to make sure I'm all right. And her dying wish was for me to finish her dying wish was for me to finish high school, behave, do what people asked me to do, and that she loved me. I never forget that last conversation in her head. So I reassured her that I was going to do those things. I told her to go ahead and be with the Lord and to save me a seat because I was going to see her again. And I meant that. I noticed the more that I started talking to my mother, the noise was calming down. So I told her, I was like, Mom, I was like, just think about what you're about to enter into, like where you're about to go. Like, just think about, the streets paved with gold and no more worries, no more sickness, no more chemo. Like, I'm just started talking to my mother. Y'all, when I say the noise just stopped, the noise stopped. And some said, Teresa, look to your right. And I slowly turned my head. Y'all, my mother had turned her head looking at me. Her eyes was wide open. My mother died looking at me and I didn't even know it. So to turn and see your mother has turned her head and opened her eyes and looked at you and died looking at you. All thing I can say is, y'all, she is gone. She is gone. And my grandmother came in like, and she came in time because I was getting ready to fall. I was just weak, and she caught me and handed me off to my brother. He drug me outside, and I'm crying. And by this time, the coroner and all this stuff, they done came. My grandma done cleaned her up. The coroner done came, and I remember her them rolling her body out, and I remember singing a hymn. I was standing off by myself, singing a hymn, seeing them roll my mother's body off. And I think where it got real was when my brother came and picked me up from high school. From school one day, and we went to the funeral home, and I was like, what are we doing at the funeral home? And he's like, Mama said it's time for us to pick her casket out. And I think that's when it kind of got real then. But you know how you be trying to just brush that off? No, she knew. But my mother died a week before her birthday. She died February 24th, 1999, and her birthday was March 4th. And my aunties and them was planning to throw her a big party for her 44th birthday because my mother never had a birthday party before. So they was planning to throw her a party or whatever. And it didn't get to happen. But it didn't get to happen here on this side. But in heaven, she had a party. Do you hear me? She didn't have to go through no more chemo. She didn't have to worry about us, her kids. She didn't have to worry about, bills and how to make this way, how to make this happen, how I'm going to do this. Baby, that part in heaven was greater than what she was going to have here on earth. Thank you, Lord. And I didn't get it then, but I get it now. And my family never talked about giving me therapy. They never thought about giving me counseling. It was like, oh, it'll be all right. The Lord gonna work it out. Y'all, as I got older, me not going through therapy, I was aggressive. I was connecting myself to people who didn't mean me no good because I was still trying to find the love that I received from my mother and my grandmother, because my grandmother ended up passing Christmas 2005, and I seen her transition too. And I never forget that, but that's for a whole nother podcast. But I was seeking love that I had in them from other people, and other people was praying on me. And I'm so loving and forgiving and sensitive that I will forgive a person for what they did to me, because I was kind of like, I don't know. It was like I was a prey to narcissists. And back then, like I said, mental health wasn't huge. We didn't know what narcissist was. But as I got older, and me being a mental health professional and me, having degrees in mental health and stuff like that, it's kind of like, dang, I was a prey to people who are narcissists, who would who would love bomb you, who would take your traumatic, experiences just to, isolate you from your family, to get what they can get out of you. And then when they can't get on that side, then they discard you. Like, oh my goodness. But I went through life with no therapist, no counselor, but depending and believing on Jesus, tried to take my life, and I know my mother was still praying for me in the heavens. I know she was asking God, watch my child. What I thought was going to, I thought she was going to be protected with the family. Like, what is happening here? Like, Lord, protect my child. I know she was up there praying for me because y'all, another podcast going to come out there. What I had went through and gone through, I'm supposed to be in somebody's mental health facility right now, twirling my hair around my fingers, and I was coping the best way I knew how. And I was attaching myself to people who I thought loved me, but didn't love me. And it was kind of like, Lord, what is happening here? And the Lord literally had to move me out of Mississippi. And he was like, you know what? I got to move you. He moved me to a whole other state for I can find myself and find him again. I just received therapy like a month or two ago. And I just found acceptance and healing through my therapy. And so I thank God for therapists. Yes, you can have Jesus and a therapist. Yes, you can. And the tools that my therapist gave me, you guys, was the best tools ever. And just, when she had me like, write a letter to your mother, write a letter to your grandmother, and it's so on. When I wrote those letters and she let me read them out loud, it's kind of like a mountain had been lifted off my shoulders. I'm not going to tell you that the grieving process is going to be over fast, because it's not. My mother been dead for 20 some years. And I grieved her every Mother's Day, every birthday, every holiday. I grieved my mother because I didn't know how to let her go. Because that was my mother. And nobody didn't even think in my family, she's young. She done went through all of these. She done seen all of these. We need to get her some type of help. None at all. And I'm running into things and running into people who I thought loved me and cared about me. But only thing they seen was money, vulnerability. Oh, we can take advantage of her. Oh, she gonna do it anyway because she... Instead of saying, this child is hurt, this child needs healing, this child lost a mother. Like, we don't take advantage of her. Let's try to get her some help. You can sit around and talk to your friends all day, you guys, about, what you're going through. But it's going to take a therapist. The Lord, yes, we're not going to, no, he go first. But it's going to take a professional, like a therapist or a counselor, to get you what you're going through. And it took my former supervisor on the job that I'm on now to say, Teresa, you need counseling. Because I guess I had finally hit that aggression stage, the anger stage, and I was just so furious, like with everything. And it's like I seen red. It's kind of like every time, if I felt like you were saying some crazy to me, I'm ready to fight you. And it was like, this is not my character. This is not who I am. Yep, let me go find some help. So my therapist helped me with a lot. And so when my mother's birthday came, I was able to rejoice. When Mother's Day came, I was not sad at all. And that's why I said I'm at the acceptance stage. And y'all have to be mindful when people lose loved ones. Give them space, and get them therapy. They may not want it, but give it to them. Ask them, make a recommendation. Even if I just say make a recommendation because they may say no at the time, but later on they may think about it. I wasn't given that. Wasn't nobody even talking about therapy back then. And I needed that. I seen my mother die, take her last breath. I seen my grandmother die, take her last breath. And I can tell you everything, who was in the room and what was going on. I did my friend like that a couple months ago when me and her was talking. And I told her everything. She said, Teresa, you remember everything. She's like, it's kind of like your mind. And your brain is a powerful thing, you guys. And that's why I tell people, don't lie to me. Or if people say stuff to me, I be telling, and I can turn back around and tell you what you told me verbatim. That's the type of mind that I have. So don't never say that. I ain't never say that. Oh, yes, you did. Because my mind is that type of mind where if you tell me something or if I see something, I'm going to remember that. And most of the time when I'm talking to people and I'm quiet, it's not that I'm being rude. I'm listening. Because the simple fact is, later on down the line, I'm going to be able to repeat what you said to me. And sometimes, if you let a person talk long enough, they're going to tell on themselves anyway. But yeah, so all of that, trauma, death, was just, and I carried that from 9th grade on up into 2022. And I went through high school, y'all. I was still acting, and I had this one teacher. Thank you, Lord. Her name was Miss Hatcher. And my mother passed. She was mad because I didn't call the school and tell the school. But my mother passed. I'm not thinking about no school, you know. So she said, well, I told her what my mother had told me. She said, well, I'm supposed to retire next year. And I think it was like, she's supposed to have retired in 2000, I think. She said, well, I'm supposed to retire next year. She said, but I'm not going to retire until you graduate, until you walk across that stage. I laughed because I was like, this woman is not going to stay, you know, 3 more years when she knows she out the door next year. Lo and behold, that woman stayed until I graduated. She went to all my teachers every year, told them who she was. If they had a problem with me, let her know. Then she got in cahoots with another one of the teachers named Miss Jones, May Jones. I love her too. They got together and double teamed on me. So I had 2 mothers. And not only did Miss Hatcher make sure that I walked, Miss Jones made sure that I walked too. And I graduated from Provine High School in May 2002. I did graduate with honors. And Miss Hatcher still was there. Miss Hatcher did not retire until the following year. So God was already setting me up. You know, he already was placing people in my life. You know, even though my biological mother wasn't there, he was giving me people and placing people in my life as mother figures who was there, who was able to teach me how to be a lady, how to because I learned some things from my mother, but remind you, I lost my mother at 14. And certain things I did not know. So he was placing women in my life who could show me and guide me and navigate me. I'm not going to lie, I did stray. I strayed in a lot of ways, you guys. I strayed so hard. And that's why I said I know my mother was still praying for me in heaven and keeping me and asking the Lord to keep me. Because y'all, I don't even supposed to be here talking to y'all. I'm supposed to be dead a plenty of time. But I'm here, safe, healthy, and still and closer to God as ever. But if you have someone, children, and they experience death, don't just think because they children or adolescents that they don't have feelings and emotions and that they don't need help. Yes, get those children or adolescents counseling. No matter what the traumatic experience may be, get them counseling. Because if you don't get them children or adolescents counseling, it's going to spill into their adulthood and it's going to get worse. And I just thank God for keeping me. And like I said, I just received acceptance this year. I received therapy this year. And it was the best thing ever. Because like I said, when it's like a mountain has been lifted off my shoulders. To see my mother die, to see my mother take her last breath, to see my mother deteriorating, I'm changing colostomy bags, to see it, not knowing that me standing in the hospital, spending nights in hospitals, you know, with my mother. And I'm an adolescent. I'm supposed to be out doing teenage things. But I'm in the hospital with my mother trying to make sure she good. And my therapist told me, she said, Teresa, Before we even get further into this session, I have to tell you this. She said, you are strong and you are very resilient. She said, for you to have been gone through, and my mother and my grandmother's death is just, it's not even all of it. And she said, for you have to been gone through what you have been gone, that you have went through. She said, I'm surprised you survived. You are still here. When she said that, I broke crying. I carry so much. And when they say check on your strong friends, do that. But I carry so much. I was numb to everything, you guys. I had learned how to suppress everything and move forward. I was what you call I had high function depression. I was depressed, but you wouldn't know it because I was high functioning, because I worked. If you always know, I was always working. School. I was always doing something. Not only that, I ended up falling. I think she said I turned codependent. She said I turned codependent at the age of 11 or 12, when my mother took sick. And I didn't know what codependent, like I said, mental health wasn't taught to us back then. But she said I became codependent at the age of 11, 12 when my mother became sick, because I had to take care of my mother. And that was my only mindset, was to try to keep my mother here. And if you notice what I said earlier, I told her I'd rather for it to be me than her, so she could be here for my brother. But she said that's how we're supposed to win. But if you have a child, a niece, a nephew, a granddaughter, well, whoever, if they lose a parent, if they lose a loved one that they close to, even if they lose a dog, if they are adolescents, if they have experienced any type of trauma, get those individuals counseling immediately. Do not throw it off. Do not think, oh, they're going to be all right. No, because whatever you experience in your childhood, the traumatics that you experience in your childhood, that's going to pour into the adulthood. And they're going to end up being codependent like me. They're going to end up being hurt, sex trafficked. That's a high thing now, because they didn't receive love from home, and somebody done bought them a new pair of shoes, and now they being sex trafficked. It's going to lead to something. So get them therapy, get them counseling, check in on them, make sure they're okay. Don't let them wander off into, other people, coping with the loss of a mother for years have been hard, but I pushed through it because I knew my mother wouldn't want me, worrying and crying when I told her I was going to be okay. So now that I have this peace, thank you, Lord, and understanding, my mother is living better than me. My mother is in a better place than me. So my goal is to get there. And if I have to cut off anything, any negativity, any distractions, anything that is not of God, I will do that. And I have done that. I'm going to get my time with God every morning and every night. I am going to hang around people who are chasing God just like I'm chasing God. I am going to be obedient to God, and I am going to do what He asked me to do before a man. Um, I thank God for loaning me my mother, because y'all have to understand the things that we have here on earth is not ours. God is loaning us these things. He's lending us these things in our families, and I thank God for loaning me my mother, because she was the greatest, and I thank God that I have her traits when it comes to business, education, structure. Um, I'm not selfish at all. I don't have a selfish bone in my body. Free hearted. I love people. I love helping people. But I thank God now for discernment, because my discernment is stronger now. Now back then I was helping people and they were just running all over me, talking about me, doing whatever. But now God gives me discernment and it's stronger than ever. So don't think I'm just gonna help you. No, 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 no. I talk to God before I do anything. And if he give me the green light, I'm gonna go. If he give me the red light, I'm gonna stop. So don't don't push therapy aside. Don't push any type of mental health services aside. Um, if you have gone through some traumatic experiences, it's okay to get counseling. It's okay to talk to a therapist. It's okay to voice your hurt, as Ms. Durani's Pace once said. It's okay to voice your hurt. Never let nobody put you in a box where you can't voice your hurt. It's okay to voice your hurt. It's okay to say, listen, I'm not strong today. I am not okay. Just like Miss Leslie Pace said, I'm here, but I'm not okay. Um, I just wanted to come and drop those dimes on you and let you know again, thanks to everybody who reached out for me Mother's Day, but I am okay. God is keeping me. And if you see a glow on me, give God the glory. Um, I don't post as much because that's not where I am. um, I am doing some things that God has called me to do, and I'm not going to share it because it's none of your business. Just know that God does talk to us, but it's up to us to get in a position to listen to Him. And if you don't get in that position to listen to Him, you're going to miss out. We are in a season of shifting. We are in a season of um, receiving great things. But again, if you are distracted by the ways of the world and everything around you, you're not gonna, because God does talk to us. And lately He has been talking to me. And I'm gonna, like I said, block any distractions. Because where God is trying to take me, remember this face and remember this name. Where God is trying to take me, it's gonna be amazing. And I thank Him for it. I thank Him for the connections. And I thank Him for being a blessing to me where I can bless others. And I'm going to continue to do God's work and will. So follow Hoops and Hurdles on Instagram. Um, I do have a website as you see scrolling. And when you do go to my Instagram page, rather if it's personal or it's the Hoops and Hurdle page, I do have a link tree where you can find all the platforms where you can follow Hoops and Hurdles. And also go to YouTube and subscribe. Don't just go look, subscribe, share, tell others about it. But um, continue to love yourself first. Well, love God first. Love yourself. Love those around you. Forgive your enemies. Forgive those who have hurt you, mistreated you, and betrayed you. Um, Forgiveness is the key that will unlock all things. Um, and like Miss Leslie Pace also said, love. Saying I'm sorry will open a multitude of things. and um and love. I know it's hard, but just think about how God loved us through all our mess and how many times He has forgiven us, even though we said we weren't gonna do the things, you know, I won't drink no more if you get me out of these and you go back and do it again. But He forgives us because He know we're not perfect. Ain't none of us perfect, but Him. So forgive, love, live, get at God's feet, get in your word, find yourself, and ask God to just um, be be what you need Him to be. Because I'm telling you, this journey I'm on with God is amazing. You all have a great day. Again, thank you for tuning in to Hoops and Hurdles. See you soon.